Hey guys, welcome to the Ramsey Paul Show. It's a little bit different today. Usually I do the top 5 news stories of the day, but I said I don't feel in the mood to do that. I don't feel in the mood to do that. And then I thought, do I have to run that by my production staff? I'm like, no, I am the production staff. I'm the boss. I have my team meetings. It's just me though. I do my timesheet every week. It's just me. So it's kind of easy. It's easy. What's that song? Uh, Taking care of business. I'm busy working at nothing all day. Yeah, that's my life. That's my life. So, but I am going to be talking about life and work in this video because I saw that Lauren Chen is back. She's back. They always come back. They never can stay away. They always come back. And Laura Chen, she was big a few years ago. I think she started to get big in, was it around like the whole alt-right time in 2015, 16? And she's a pretty girl. She's like half Asian, Chinese maybe, and half white. That's always a kind of a good combination. I think Canadian, and she was popular because if you have pretty, that always helps. And then she combined some of the based talking points, but it wasn't too based. It wasn't. She's going to get her into trouble. Like I'm always in trouble. I'm not polite company. You're not going to have me on because am I going to get in trouble? But Laura Chen, you could, and she had people like Tim Pool and others. I guess you would have called that alt-light back in the day. But over time, she got a little bit more and more right wing, like they all do, right? Everyone starts out over here to the left of me, and then they all become closer and closer to the Ramsey Paul. In fact, I knew someone that knows Laura Chen, and she goes, "Oh yeah, do you like Ramsey Paul?" And she was like, "Ah." I don't really care. So I never really watched Laura Chen just because those type of shows don't interest me that much. I don't really watch a lot on YouTube when it comes to political content. That's just the truth. I use YouTube for music or how-to videos, or I'm learning a game. But I want to hear what the quartering has to say about woke Hollywood. It doesn't interest me, right? It just doesn't interest me. So I don't really watch that stuff. There's a few websites I check out, like 4chan. I still check out. I'm on X, but that's about it. I used to always read Z-Man, but he passed away. So anyway, Lauren Chen was part of kind of that crowd. And then she got in trouble because of the Russia hoax. That was in the hysteria. The Putin, he's hacking our elections. And Putin and Russia, they're paying these influencers like Laura Chen to corrupt the minds of our youth with Russian propaganda. And I guess her and her husband, they had some sort of company that received some money from a Russian businessman, which is not illegal, but I guess if you get money from a foreign source, you're supposed to report it. I had no idea, but they didn't report it, so that's why they got in trouble. But the idea is, the Russians are giving all this money for them to create Russian propaganda because they had influencers, and I hate that name. I hate that term, influencers, but they had influencers like Tim Pool and other people they gave money to do stupid videos that really those videos didn't get a lot of views for all the money they spent on it. And they really weren't so much about Russia or any propaganda like that. So I'm kind of doubtful there was any Russian propaganda. She just failed to file the proper paperwork. And I'm not defending her, but that was the thing. So then she panicked. YouTube shut down her channels and she ran off. And sometimes they do this, right? I think she was friends, or maybe not. They all kind of mill around with each other with like Lauren Southern. They're all named Lauren. Of that age, all girls are named Lauren or Ashley. It seems like of that age, or Sarah. But Lauren Southern, she used to be the it girl on politically incorrect on poll on 4chan and 15 and 16. She was a hot girl everyone liked. And she would do basic bitch talking points that were kind of edgy, but she got a big audience. She did some good work. Don't get me wrong. But she palled around with Stefan Molyneux. She went to Australia, all that type of stuff. And then everything kind of got weird. and she got married and she had this big announcement. Well, I'm going to be the trad wife and have a baby and just leave all the social media behind. Goodbye, all. Goodbye. I'm gone. New phase of my life. I'm like, yeah, you'll be back. You'll be back. There always comes back. And a year later, she was back, divorced and single mom now. Well, what do you know? And she's no longer right wing. I don't know. Is she? I thought she's doing I'm a centrist now. I'm like, oh, okay. There you go. Ride the fence. Ride the fence. So, well, didn't she hang around that Destiny guy, that little goblin that's disgusting? Supposedly they had, I don't know. It's disgusting to think about. But anyway, that was her rebranding. All these people are about rebranding. It's just, and I'm going to talk about that. It's kind of cringe, right? The whole idea of a brand is kind of cringe too. Because when I first started YouTube, there wasn't a brand. There was no money. You was just a guy that would say what you want, make funny videos, do things, whatever. But then it became all about branding and your demographics and what do you want to say? It's a business. So it's changed a lot. But Lauren came back, and I'm not surprised. They always come back because they miss it. They miss it. They miss the adulation. They like getting the attention and everyone telling them how wonderful they are. And in Lauren Chen and in Lauren Southern, they have legions of simps. Like, oh, we love you. We love you. Let me throw simp money after you. Oh, we love you. You're so based. And hey, it feels good. I don't blame them, right? Even if you're on the right, it feels good. It feels good when you're in front of the audience and people love you or they say that they like your work. That's part of it. It gets in your blood. And not just on YouTube. I think Hollywood actors and all of them did that too. So they always come back and they try to recreate what they used to have back in the glory days, right? And it's not just Lauren Chen and others on YouTube, but it's also famous actors like Bob Crane. And I'm doing this video because I was bored one night and I saw an old film called Autofocus. It was about the life of Bob Crane. And if you don't know who Bob Crane was, he's best known for being the lead actor on Hogan's Heroes. I used to always like to watch that show as a kid. And it was based in a POW camp in Germany. And what it was, Bob Crane and his other fellow people in the prison, they were really running sabotage and espionage. They had a network of tunnels. And Colonel Klink was a stupid German officer that didn't understand what was happening. And so they would run these missions. It was like a comedy, right? And it's a big controversy now. It's like, oh, how can you make fun of the Holocaust? Well, it had nothing to do with concentration camps. It's a POW camp. And that was one of the things I did hate about the movie Autofocus, because supposedly when he was thinking about taking the role in 1965, was when the series started, Bob Crane's wife said, oh, how can you make a comedy about the Holocaust? Like the Holocaust is not funny. And I knew right away, this is stupid. They would never said Holocaust back in 1965. That's a new term. That's a term that wasn't used for that until 1978. I can prove it. I have an encyclopedia here, 1974, World Book Encyclopedia. There's no entry about Holocaust, right? That whole expression came about. I mean, there was a word, but it meant a burnt offering. But for the event in Germany, that it didn't come about till 1978 when they did the Holocaust miniseries. Just a little bit of trivia there. So it always kind of bugs me when they try to do revisionist history, ironically, considering the topic. But it wasn't that about that. It's just about a POW camp. And you have to understand, German POW camps, they treated American and British prisoners and French prisoners really quite well. They were quite humane with the Geneva Convention. Now, the Japanese were different. They were really cruel. And the Germans didn't necessarily treat Russian prisoners that nice. Of course, Russians didn't treat Germans that nice either. So that was another matter. But a lot of people, especially in 1965, they may have fought in World War II because that was only 20 years prior. So you could be a 20-year-old guy fought in World War II, and now you're 40 or 45 years old and watching a sitcom at night. So you would understand that. And so Bob, that's where he got big. But how he started, and this just shows a trajectory a lot of people go through in life, especially if you're successful. Bob Crane started in Connecticut as a disc jockey at like the age of 22 in the 50s, I believe. And then he got popular in the New York City market. So much so that CBS radio at the time, they're like, oh man, our morning drive time in LA is not doing well at all. This young guy, he's kind of funny, he plays the drums, and he's got that sarcastic manner. Let's get him out to LA. So they offered him a job to LA. So he got a promotion, went to LA, and he was really famous in the 50s, I guess, in the morning hour. He was a DJ. He started interviewing famous people, and that led from one thing to another, and that he became very successful then. Now, his first big television break, I had to look this up because I always forget the name of the show. He wanted to get into acting, and he first had some bit parts like on the Twilight Zone and so forth. But his first big role was on the Donna Reed show, because he interviewed Carl Reiner, and they said, hey, they're looking for another character. It's not like a main character, but you could be a recurring character. And he was on that show from 1963 to 1974. It wasn't huge, but hey, he's on TV now. And then the big thing happened, as I said, in 1965, he was in Hogan's Heroes, and that lasted to 1971. And that's quite a long time for a sitcom. That was 6 years, and the ratings were really good. And he was very popular. He was a star. He was like the handsome man, kind of with a smirk. And it really went to his head, because at the time he was a family man, he was Catholic. And once he got famous, he discovered a truth that some people don't understand. All right, if you're a young, pretty woman, guys are sort of naturally probably going to approach you and be interested in you. But it doesn't matter. If you're even a handsome man, that's not going to happen, right? So that's the difference between the sexes. But there's one exception. If you're famous, if you're a famous man, you can even be ugly, women are going to come up to you. That's just the way it is. And so fame is chick crack, right? You have fame, women love that. And so they came up to Bob Crane. He was a pretty good looking guy too, and he played the character. And he was like a kid in the candy shop. He had all sorts of sexual encounters. So it wasn't like he just had a brief affair with someone. He had a lot of weird sort of sex orgies and all that type of stuff. Ended up having an affair with one of the women on the show. They ended up getting married, and he divorced his first wife. So everything was sort of going good for Bob Crane. And then Hogan's Heroes ended, and he probably thought, well, hey, my whole life has just been, Connecticut radio, then New York City, then LA. I keep going up and up. Then the Donna Reed show, then Hogan's Heroes. So I guess next is big Hollywood movies. I'm just going to continue my fame. That's how a lot of people think. It's just going to go on forever. But it didn't. He couldn't really get a lot of roles. And they tried one sitcom with him, I think the Bob Crane sitcom show, and that lasted one season and just died. He did a couple other things. Disney did a movie called Super Dad. I never saw it, but I guess it was horrible. Didn't make a lot of money. And then he was pretty much relegated to just doing dinner theater. So here's a guy that was at the top of the game on TV, a lead character in a hit TV show. Now he's doing some obscure dinner theater. It had to really upset him, because that wasn't what he was about anymore. But that's how this sort of thing works. And what happens is people, when they're successful, they assume it's just going to last forever. But life changes. That's one thing about life that's a bitch, is time keeps going on. And you can't go back in the past and recreate your glory days. But all these people want to, right? Bob Crane probably wanted to go back and create the glory days of Hogan's Heroes, but he just couldn't. And he tried, and he became unhappy because his expectations were so high. He was sort of a sin of pride, like, oh, I'm special. I deserve all this good stuff. I can't just do dinner theater. I was a star. And it was really hard for him. And that's why, by the way, it could have been a contender. There's a lot of these people feel regret because they never made it. But what's also as bad is people that did make it, they get a taste of success, and then it goes away. And then they're always trying to recapture it forever. And you just can't do that. And this is what we saw, like a lot of YouTube people like Lauren Chen. Well, she was a product of a time. it's going to be hard for her to recapture that all. Just like Lauren Southern was never able to recapture it. But they want to, and I get it, but time goes on. They're older now. New people come about, and your message can get stale. And I'm not going to throw out a name because I don't want to offend anyone. I offend enough people. But there's some like YouTube people, they're real back, in the day 2015, 16, they had a lot of energy, a lot of growth, really fame. Now they're like, oh, my videos aren't doing that good anymore. It's a YouTube algorithm. The algorithm is holding me down. I'm like, well, maybe. I mean, the algorithm does do that, but is that all? Are you sure it's just the algorithm? And I remember this one guy goes, yeah, it has to be the algorithm because I'm doing the same stuff I did 10 years ago. So how could it be anything but the algorithm? I'm like, dude, maybe that's the problem. You're doing the exact same thing that you did 10 years ago, right? Your message has got stale. And I can think of a few people, their message has just got stale. It's today's show, we're going to talk about how Disney is whoa, cool. I mean, okay. How many times are you going to do that? Really, how many times are you going to do that show? And a lot of people, well, that's my career. That's what I do. I talk about, look how woke Disney is. Well, isn't that kind of getting old? And a lot of these people, they're going down. Oh, it's the algorithms against me. And I'm like, maybe your message is just old. And so a lot of these people, then what they want to do, well, I got to reinvent myself. Well, some of them don't even know about reinventing. But then some people, well, okay, I'll reinvent myself, do something different. Well, that's okay. But you're probably never going to be back at the same level you were before, right? Your reinvention can take you to a new place that you could be happy, but you're not going to be like Hogan in Hogan's Heroes. So Bob Crane, he could have reinvented himself, said, well, okay, I'm not going to be that big movie star that I thought. I probably won't ever have my TV series again. But hey, I could take pride in doing that. I could always show that, syndication reruns. I could say, hey, that was me. And meanwhile, I'm going to be focused on my dinner theater. Maybe I'll open a little dinner theater or help young actors or whatever. And you get, get a living out of it, feel pretty good about it. I know it's not the same though, right? It's not the same as being on the top. But that happens when you reinvent. That's just the case. And that's the same thing with like YouTubers or anyone else. Younger people come up, newer things come up, and you're always trying to desperately hang on to what you had. You're like, well, I'm going to reinvent myself. Well, you can, and that's okay, but it probably won't be the same. And you just got to understand that. And this isn't just for YouTube or Hollywood. This happens in sports. You're a famous sports person and the crowd's cheering you. You have all these endorsements. And then you get too old to play and you're like, oh, well, what am I going to do now? Well, I'll try to be a broadcaster. And maybe you succeed or maybe not. And maybe you end up coaching high school football instead. And that could be nice living. You get some satisfaction out of it. But it's not the same as has millions of people cheering you on and wearing your jersey. And yeah, you want to go back to the place where you were, but it's not going to happen. It happens with singers like Madonna. You think that she wishes she could be like Taylor Swift now? She was huge back in the day, Madonna. And now she's an elderly woman. She's not going to ever be a Taylor Swift. I'm not saying I like Taylor Swift. I'm not comparing their talents. It's just Taylor Swift's younger and more fresh and Madonna's old. That's just the way it is. Madonna can never change that. I mean, she can still be rich, have a great life, which she is, but there's no reinvention that's going to put her back where she once was. And that's hard for people to accept. And it's hard for people, I think, in regular life to accept too. You don't have to be a Hollywood person or YouTube or sports. You could just be a person, say your mother, and you're like, oh, I'm be the trad wife and have my 3-4 kids. And yeah, you're really loving it. Great. But eventually those days are going to be gone. You're going to age out. Your kids are going to grow. You can't have more kids. And you got to reinvent yourself. And you can still have a good life, but you're like, yeah, but I want to be back when I was a mother and I was young and vibrant and had all these little kids. Well, those days are gone. Those days are gone. They're not coming back. You can't reinvent yourself back to that. And that's one of the hardest things to understand and accept because it deals with one of the worst sins there is. I would say the worst sin is pride, because in pride, you don't have humility. You think you deserve all these things because you once had it. You think you deserve this perpetually. And if you don't get it, even if you could have a good living or doing something productive, you feel very bitter that you no longer are what you weren't once were, and you miss all that. So I thought this would just be an interesting video because I like to think about these ideas in my head. I before even YouTube, I would think a lot about ideas just walking around. I was a programmer, but I would think about other things too. Then I was able to put it down in videos. And that's how my videos came about. My videos were never about, oh, what will make me money? Or, "Oh, how can I monetize this? Or what's my target demographic?" Or I never did that. I don't care. I just wanted to get out my thought. So this is my thought today. I don't know if it'll help you, but understanding how the time goes by and you can't recreate the glory days. Bob Crane couldn't. I don't think Lauren Chen will be able to do it, and I won't. All of you will be in the same situation. You have to enjoy what you have at the moment, and you have to accept whatever phase of the life you're in and what you're doing. And it may not always be as glamorous as it once was. And, that's okay. Talk to you guys later.